Welcome to another episode of today's Conversations on Leadership, powered by Life University. I'm Dr. Gilles LaMarche, and I am so thrilled and honored today to have on our podcast Dr. Josh Axe, the founder of draxe.com, Ancient Nutrition, as well as leaders.com. Dr. Axe joining us from Puerto Rico today. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me.
Hey, thanks for having me, Gilles. It's an honor, and always excited anytime we get to connect.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So I know that you've had some pretty heavy challenges in the past year. So I'd love for you to share with the audience about those challenges and how you actually overcame them, because that's really, you took a leadership role in your life. So let's explain that to our audience, if you would.
Yeah, it was crazy because I've always been so focused on having great health. And quite a few years ago, I had a back injury and herniated a couple discs in my back and did a chiropractic care, physical therapy. And I also did a little bit of a stem cell, and PRP is a regenerative medicine using my own cells to heal. And it really saw good results. And so I was I'll call it 90% better. And I was back swimming and weightlifting and everything else. And I thought, you know what, I want to get a little bit more help in this back. I'm going to get stem cell one more time to try and get back to 100%. So I went back, got it done, and something didn't feel right after. And then for the next few months, kept getting worse and worse. So finally one day I woke up and I couldn't walk. Literally, I couldn't move. Went in, got an MRI. I had to have an ambulance pick me up. The ambulance picked me up, had an MRI, and they said, it looks like you have a spinal infection. So it looks like the infection got into your disc. It's in your bone. They diagnosed me with osteomyelitis. And somehow when I was getting the injection, there was maybe a bacteria on the needle, and that got into my disc. And so, I then went, and the crazy thing is that, I tried to do a lot of things natural as well. And I went into a doctor after he got the MRI, and he said, hey, listen, I think that, there's a chance that you're going to have a level of permanent disability. And he said at the very least, anytime there's bad weather going through or certain times a week, you're going to have major pain and really feel it. And I said, my mindset was very much, I mean, you and I both know this, Jill, sometimes you have this in the conventional medical profession. I was meeting with again, infectious disease specialist. And I said, hey, I appreciate your advice and feedback, but I really knew that the body has an amazing capacity to heal. So I went and said, I'm going to do everything I can to heal. And so I did a little, and by the way, I felt, prayed about this with my wife. I did do a little bit of a conventional treatment of an antibiotic for a short period of time. But with that, I started doing a hyperbaric chamber every day. I'd get in a hard chamber for 2 hours a day. I did some natural IVs like silver and ozone, lots of ozone. And I started doing, just a lot of things to really help heal myself. And slowly but surely started getting better to the point to where I got on and by the way, I didn't walk for 10 months. I mean, that's how long it took. It took a long time, even with all these therapies. And as I read online, it took some people, 3 years to feel normal again. Some people just a very long period of time. And so I ended up being able to get on a walker. And then in May, just this past May, I had the honor of overseeing a wedding for my sister-in-law. And then so that was the first I'd walked. That was in late May. So I had that in June. And then now I'm back working out. I'm walking, I'm moving. I'm not 100% yet, but again, I've seen some really good progress. And so I'm back filming all my videos and everything. But I'll tell you what, one of my biggest lessons through this whole process was, I've been teaching people that food is medicine for a long period of time. I've been teaching people that chiropractic and natural therapies are also a powerful form of ways of helping the body heal. Of course, in chiropractic, it's really supporting the body and healing itself, removing that interference. But, one of the things that I realized as I went through this was I really believe that mindset is the most powerful form of medicine. And, when we look back at whether it's the Proverbs or some of the wisest ancient thinkers of all time, they'd say things like, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And this really is this above, down, inside out principle of, like, if you believe in your heart, you can heal, you will be healed. We hear stories of people all the time who are diagnosed like me. And by the way, I don't really have much pain in my back even now. And I don't think I'll have any, a few months from now. And so all that being said, you can go to a doctor, and I experienced this with myself just recently. I experienced with my own mom years ago. I had a doctor who told my mom, hey, you have a less than a 40% chance to live. And now, that was 15 years ago, and my mom's now in her 70s and feels great. So, we see this all the time, but the power of the mind is so important. And when we read the medical literature, we see there's something called the placebo effect, but also the nocebo effect.
Right.
So I was recently reading a story about a man who went in and he was told he had liver cancer, and he died 3 months later, because they said you have about 3 to 4 months to live. They went and did the autopsy, and they realized they misdiagnosed him. He had a little benign tumor on the side of his liver, and it had metastasized at all. And the guy should have lived another 20, 30 years. And so we know
he was going to die.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you believe you won't get well, you won't get well. If you believe you will, you likely will. And so, and I'm not saying that everything is always perfect and everything works out exactly how we plan it, but I really do believe that, if you have the right mindset as you go through things and you can overcome limiting beliefs, it's essential. The thing that I tried to think through as I went through this, Jill, is I tried to ask myself, will this mindset serve me? Because I had a point in time when I didn't know exactly what was going on and I couldn't walk. And I felt despair and depression for the first time in my life. And I thought, you know what? It's probably okay to feel depressed, but I don't want to feel despair right now. And I thought, that's not serving me. That's not going to help me get well. So I went online and started reading about people who had healed in a miraculous way. I connected with some amazing friends that I've had over the years who are encouragers, like Jordan Rubin and many others, and just talking about the incredible, and Dan Sullivan, a friend that a mutual friend we have, of the body has an amazing capacity to heal. So I really switched my perspective to, what if I never walk again? What if the infectious disease specialist is right and I'm in pain the rest of my life? I said, that's not going to serve me. What'll serve me is knowing the power that made the body heals the body, and focusing on doing everything I could do to heal. The other thing I did is I realized I'm going to use this as a time to refine myself, grow, and get better. Can I be a better husband? Can I be a better dad to my 3-year-old? Can I be a better leader in my business and the people that God has put me in my businesses to help them grow and the best they can be? So I kept doing calls. In fact, I wrote a book. It comes out in April. It's called Think This, Not That. It's all about the power of mindset and overcoming limiting beliefs. I actually finished a degree. I'll graduate next week from Johns Hopkins University with a master's in organizational leadership. And I ran 3 businesses. I did that all while I was in bed for 10 months, didn't get out of bed. So I bring that up to say, when you're in a tough position, think about, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? How can I let God refine me through this, and use what you've learned, use your suffering to make you better. And it gave me a more empathetic and compassionate heart for others, during that time as well. And so, and it also made me say, I want to be more present with my 3-year-old. Like this morning, so I was a little late to the interview, and I lost track of time because I was down there with my 3-year-old, and we were playing in the beach. I'm in Puerto Rico right now. We're playing in the sand together, swimming with her and my wife, and just getting caught up in some of those great moments. But all that being said, I think that one of the things everybody can take away from this is that, what is your mindset? What are those beliefs you have? And ask, are they serving you? And if not, create new empowering beliefs that you can use to make your life better, but also inspire others.
What a great lesson, because when you were on the edge of despair, you chose not to go there.
Yeah.
You were on that edge of despair, feeling depressed, on the edge of despair, and you started questioning yourself. What could I do better? How will this serve me? Because I'll tell you, one of my favorite questions to ask myself in good and not so good times is, how will this serve me?
Yeah.
And then I get to make a choice to live my life from a position I want to, I get to, I choose to, and that changes everything. And so leaders, as you're well explaining, even in their personal life, you actually use your understanding of the value of leadership, which is making a decision. So I'm assuming, based on what you just said, you drew a line in the sand, despair on this side, hope on this side. You said,
That's right.
I'm not going there. I'm going here instead.
That's right. That's exactly right. It is. And it's, as you said, it's a choice. It's a decision I made that no, I will live on this side, the side of hope, the side of gratitude, the side of grit, 100%.
That's beautiful, and I know that you've talked about the importance of what you refer to as mindset medicine, but that really was it, wasn't it? You actually chose a mindset, knowing that your body has this innate capacity to heal, provided there's no interference. Yes, you had to deal with the interference, which was the infection, but you knew that if you dealt with the infection properly, that your body would be restored because you have that innate ability to heal, like all humans do.
Yeah, and listen, this principle is true in our health, right? It's that what mindset is the most healing. We know which one is going to act as the greatest placebo. By the way, when you look at placebo effect, there are three things that can make it more powerful or less powerful. Number one is making sure that you are believing the best outcome possible. Number two, what are the feelings attached to that? So when I thought about, okay, you know what? The best outcome is I'm back to where I was, in fact, even better. I can do triathlons. I'm swimming. I'm weightlifting. I'm throwing my little girl in the pool in the air. Like, I'm thinking about that. And then I attach feelings to it. By the way, this is based on studies. Studies have shown that if you live in that state of, you know what, I'm experiencing joy. Like, I can see it right now. I can feel it right now. Like, just, my daughter laughing and having fun with her and running with her. When you can attach that strong emotional response to it, it really does something. And then also when you can take action based on that, develop and sit down a strategy of how can I make this into reality? When you do those things, that placebo effect becomes even more powerful. And I would say the same thing for if we've got, students listening to this or chiropractors in business as entrepreneurs, I think, I heard the stat. I had some teachers tell me at one point that, the chance of surviving as a chiropractor is like, or being successful in business is less than 50%. I had somebody at one time tell me that. And I thought, wow, I could sit there on that, like you said, that line in the sand and think, wow, is that true? Is that number really real? Well, I don't know if that's true or not. You probably know better than I do.
Not true.
All that being said, well, I'm going to study the 50% that did great. In fact, I'm not going to study the 50%. I'm going to study the top 10% and the top 1% of chiropractors and functional medicine doctors out there and say, what are they doing? And I'm just going to model and do what they do. And so I think that's the thing is like, I'm going to believe what is the top 10% believe or the top 1% believe. And I'm going to have my mindset align with that.
And that's really the power of mentorship, right? Because when you shift your mind, we know that it has a direct impact on your physiology. So when you were thinking healing thoughts, when you were thinking joy, when you were thinking hope, you were positively affecting your physiological function, how your cells were responding to this infection, and how your cells were able to basically regenerate. That regenerative medicine was actually occurring in your body because you were seeing it as such, and you had dealt with the interference. So let's talk. You sort of briefly mentioned this power of looking at the top 1 or the top 10% and then having conversations with them or interacting with them. And that's, to me, the power of mentorship. I was very fortunate. I had some terrific mentors in my life that actually allowed me to become the person that I became in the process. Success in practice, success in business, success in life generally. So from your perspective, why is community, right? The friends that you reached out to, the people that you spoke with, but why is community and mentorship so important to your success?
Yeah. So and I want to walk through just how practical this is and how it's so important. And by the way, I truly believe by far the most important thing somebody can do to succeed is have a coach or mentor, somebody that's going to help them grow, that you can model what they're doing. And I did this in my own life. Before I opened practice, actually what got me to be a chiropractor is I went and I visited this doctor who was a life grad, and he had a great practice. He did a lot of nutrition and kinesiology, and I loved what he was doing. And so that got me into chiropractic school. And then when I was in chiropractic school, I got turned on to some doctors who were, I'm thinking about this now. I'm like, I think 4 out of 5 of them were all life grads. And so I had Ben Lerner, Greg Lohman, Joel Bohemier, Chuck Majors, he's the one Palmer grad, and then Dan Yachter. So I had these great
all people I know very well, by the way. And of course, Chuck is no longer with us, but the other 4, yeah, I know them all very well.
Yes. And so, I think back in those men, and there's others too, but they blessed my life in such a big way. So I saw what they were doing and running successful practices. The other thing I really admired about them, speaking of Chuck, I went and lived with him. I did my preceptorship there. I went and lived with him and Andrea and the kids, and just being able to just interact with them and and in the morning, like their kids were doing shots of fish oil and green juices and getting their adjustments. And I mean, it was such a blessing. But for me, like I learned so much from them. And so I went out my first year of practice, and I want to say, year one or two, like we did over $1 million, in practice. And I just say that to say, if I would have gone out in practice and just said, I'm just going to do whatever Josh wants to do, like I'm just going to go out there, figure it out by myself, take some things here or there, I don't think I would have had near as much success in practice versus I went out and I said, you know what? I'm going to find out what Chuck and Joel and Greg, like what is it very specifically they're doing? And they told me, and I did exactly what they told me to do. I watched the way that they led, and we're part of, investing in their coaching and those sort of things. And boom, I took off. And then again, it's so important with everything in life. And I think about this too, like in building a supplement company. I'm really blessed to start drax.com. Joe Mercola, there's an example. Like I watched what Joe was doing and modeled what he was doing. And then I met Jordan Rubin, and Jordan and I became good friends, and he taught me so much to where it's funny, like we had separate businesses. So he had a company called Get Real Beyond Organic. I had another company, Axe Wellness, from drax.com. And he was mentoring me, and eventually, like, we just kept growing. And so eventually it was like, well, hey, maybe we should merge companies. We ended up merging companies, and that's how Ancient Nutrition was born. But it really went back to mentorship. Like Jordan mentored me in how to formulate supplements and vitamins and how to build a supplement company. And eventually we ended up merging. But all that being said, I mean, my biggest life lesson is we become who we surround ourselves with. And you want to have those colleagues, those people that are beside you that are helping you grow, and you also want a mentor that's helping you grow. I have I actually have a mentorship group, a coaching group called Leaders Mastermind, where doctors can come in, or just any entrepreneurs, and basically I coach and mentor them in how to grow their business. But one of the questions I always ask them is this: I said, write down the 3 people that are mentoring you. And it could be, one person should be in person, but 2 people could be virtual. You're watching their YouTube videos, you're listening to their podcasts. Maybe it's a church pastor or a professor, whatever it is. Write down those 3 people that you're modeling your life after. And then I want you to write down the 5 people you spend the most time with, those friends, those colleagues. So outside of your spouse, if you're married, who are the other 5 people? And I say, well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to rank each of them on a scale of 1 to 10 on how much they're pushing you to grow and get better, right? Because I think a lot of times we get around friend groups and people that just make us comfortable where things are easy, versus saying, and by the way, Aristotle taught this. He said, you can have friendships that are based on pleasure. Hey, we're going out and drinking tonight, whatever. You can have one that's based on practicality. Hey, we're helping each other out, which is good. Or it's based on purpose. He said that's the highest level of friendship, where you share a common purpose and values, and you're saying iron sharpens iron. We're going to help each other grow, or we share this common mission and we're going to go at it together and grow together. And so I think when we have that mentality in our relationships, this sort of community of purpose but I think if people do that, hey, who are the 5 people you spend the most time with on a scale of 1 to 10? Do you have any, are they all 9s and 10s where they're pushing you to grow? There are a lot of 0s, 1s, and 2s. And so I think for people to realize that principle, it's called Dunbar's law. You are the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so it's actually a law.
The sum total of those 5 people.
Yeah, there's studies and laws around that. So again, I think for everybody, that's a big thing. And I did this even in chiropractic school. And once I got out, I said, who's my friend group right now? Okay, well, and it's not that I like rejected those people from my life. It was, what, I'm going to go and pursue relationships with some very high character, high purpose driven people that I'm going to try and spend a lot of time with. And I did that. And it's like, hey, if you want to level yourself up, level up your friend group and your mentors in life, it's I think it's a really important principle.
Because I think what you're talking about there is that leaders lead from a space, the best leaders lead from a space of purpose. To have
That's
purpose in their life they create purpose around their business initiatives, and they attract people to that purpose. And those are the best leaders by far. And I know that I've been driven by purpose for years because I discovered that, with my first chiropractic mentor, and created my purpose statement. And my general purpose statement from my life has not changed in over 40 years. I recite it every single morning. It started off as a paragraph. It got a little bit shorter, but mine is, I pledge my life to my greatest expression of love and service for the benefit of humanity.
I love it.
So every morning, literally before I get out of bed, I'm awakening, and I'll lay there. And there's another statement that I say is, I start off with, I greet this day with love in my heart, every person, every situation, every circumstance, because I choose to make my life sacred. So I recite that first, and then I recite my purpose statement.
I love it.
Because I've used the word pledge, not just I choose, I want, I think, I pledge my life to my greatest expression of love and service for the benefit of humanity. That's the life I get to live every single day.
Yeah.
And so it's a powerful place, right? Where as leaders, we choose to live a purpose-driven life. And when we do, we accomplish great things for ourselves and for the people that actually choose to follow that level of leadership. So that is a great tip for all our listeners, whether they're young in business or students, or whether they've been in business for years. I mean, I'm 68 years old. I still want to live a purposeful life until I take my last breath.
Yeah.
And because of that, I stay focused on why. Why do I wake up? Why do I choose to show up at the office? Why do I choose to still have a career? Why do I still choose to have a position at a great institution like Life University? So I love what you were saying there. Maybe as a last question, because you've been in business, total business, like less than 15 years, am I right?
It's been 15. Yeah, just around 15. Yeah, 15 years.
16 years. And of course, if people knew how well you have done, they're going to ask, like, how is that even possible? That one man who surrounded himself with great mentors, built a fantastic team. How did you grow this drax.com and an ancient nutrition business? What was your strategy, number one, to build drax.com? And then I know you mentioned that when you merged with Jordan, that you created Ancient Nutrition, which people can now find. I mean, Whole Foods has Ancient Nutrition. I mean, tons of stores are carrying your products now all over this country and all over the world.
Yeah, it's a process of what I call visualization to realization. And actually, there's even a step before the visualization, though, and that's prioritization. And so making sure that the thing that you're aiming for, it's meaningful, and that it'll lead to a life that is significant, that matters. And so, when I think about things like, and by the way, my purpose is to love God, love people, and make earth a heavenly place, and to be, a servant of all. And so when I think about my priorities, I think about my faith, my family, and my life mission more than anything. And so, when I'm prioritizing, well, what does a great mission life look like? Well, it's, Jordan and I do regenerative agriculture. We have 4,000 acres of organic land where we build up food forests and help with helping climate health and a number of things. And so, we like, and that's part of making earth the heavenly places. We want to turn the entire planet into a Garden of Eden, right? That was if you read early Genesis, it's God said, hey, take this garden, this little area, but the whole earth was meant to be like a Garden of Eden. And so we're trying to practice that through regenerative agriculture. And so that's one of parts of that mission there. And then I think about my family. And I'll give the family as an example here. So, like, visualizing, a great family life where my daughter is maybe one day graduating from Life University and becoming a doctor. And then she is,
like her
working
mom and
with
her
me.
dad.
And yeah, exactly. We're working in business together, doing leadership and health, and helping save and transform lives. And when we're on vacation and at the beach. And so anyway, just visualizing what is that thing, but also you want to make sure it's something that where your family is contributing. So I'm visualizing myself and my daughter Arwen on a mission trip to Haiti or Uganda, and we're there serving orphans, and we're doing things that really matter. And so you want to make sure that you have your priority set of your family and your faith and this mission in life that you have that's tied to your career and finances. and make sure that those things are lined up. And then you visualize it very, very specifically. What does that look like? And then I do something as my strategy, which is something Elon Musk talks about, and it's first principles thinking. I'll switch to business now to give everyone this example. But what are the key components that make up a great organization and team? Well, the first thing is your vision and purpose statement. So for instance, our goal is to transform, like an ancient nutrition. We want to help transform 10 million lives and plant 10 million superfood trees to help heal the planet, right? So I kind of see what that would look like. Okay, so I know that. So what do I need to do? Oh, I need to build a personal brand on social media. I need to also build my company brand. I need to build a great organizational culture. I need to have certain systems in place in the business. So I just start looking at what are the main ingredients that make up a great brand. And then I create systems. It's kind of like your habits for your business. What are my best business habits? Well, I need to record videos a day a week. I need to write content a day a week. I need to do 2 team trainings a week. So you kind of write down and you look at this through modeling. This is what I mentioned earlier. When I started my clinic, I'd watch somebody like Joel and I would say, what does Joel do? Okay, he does his team trainings on Mondays and Wednesdays. Okay, when he's adjusting during office hours, what is he doing to patients? Well, when I watch Joel, he's hugging patients. He's not spending a lot of time, but when he's with them, the words are powerful. He's putting his hand on his shoulder and saying, you're a healer, you're powerful. Boom, power is on, right? And so I watched that and said, okay, that's how I'm going to interact with them. I would watch him do his team trainings and realize that he's not there to get his team to serve him and the patients. He's there to serve his team. And because he's such a great servant to his team, all of a sudden now his team is better serving the patients. And then he's modeling that as well. My point is that as part of that is I'm looking at what does Joel or Greg or whoever do every part of the day? And then I'm going to model and do those same things. And if you do that, you're going to realize something great. And another example of this is your daily habits. I wake up every single morning, and the first things I do is I work on my faith, my fitness, and spend a little time with my family. So I wake up around 6 a.m. and I'll spend time with God. I'll go on a gratitude walk and pray and praise. So I'll do that. I might read my Bible for a little bit, and then I'll jump into my workout. And maybe I'm listening to praise and worship music or a podcast on leadership or something like that. So I'm working on myself, my spiritual life, my leadership growth, first thing in the morning and while I work out. Then I'll do a superfood smoothie. My wife will tend to bring my 3-year-old down. Maybe I'll play with her for 30 minutes. And by then, it's maybe like 8:39. And then and then a lot of times I'll jump into work. Now Puerto Rico right now, the schedule is a little different. So I've been working for an hour or so in the morning, then we go to the beach for an hour and then we come back. But all that being said, those daily habits, they really add up and compound over time. And so that's really that process of visualization and realization. And because I know we just have a few minutes left, I could tell you stories, Jill. Like Chelsea and I visualized this house down in Florida. We took a picture. We found a picture on the internet, put it up on a vision board. We'd never seen the house before. 5 years later, we buy a lot in Florida. And I go back and look at my vision board and I'm like, something's so familiar about that house. And I realized we bought the lot next to that house and I'd never seen the house before. So yeah, maybe on the next time we can get into that. But all that being said, the power of visualizing and then strategizing and creating healthy habits to achieve those goals, that's been a big part of growing leaders.com, ancient nutrition, drax.com, some of the other businesses I've been a part of. And it's been a great formula for success.
I love the formula because prioritize, visualize, strategize. When you put those 3 together in that order, not the other way around, but in that exact order, right? When people get clear, when a leader gets really, really clear on what's important, prioritize, and they visualize what they want to accomplish, they create the vision, they create the purpose, and then they create the strategy, it's going to happen.
Yeah. And then the last step I have there too, I call it systematize, which is those habits. You take the strategy and then you turn it into daily things where you're doing it every single day and it builds up over time. So yeah, I agree. The order is very important.
Yeah, and then the habitual repetition, because everybody understands if you're going to exercise, if somebody says, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds, they know they can't exercise just once and get fit, right? I've been training for a year now. as a master's athlete with the U.S. Track and Field Association. When I started last July, I didn't expect that I would win a gold medal in August.
Yeah.
So I prioritized my schedule. I visualized what I could do. And then with a coach, created a strategy of where I would be a year from last July, which is where now we're in August now, August 2 today, as we're recording this. And then I've got my strategy for the visualization of how I'm going to do at the World Championship in Sweden in 2025.
Yeah.
So my strategy for my training as a personal goal, I followed exactly what you said.
Yeah.
But it required some major prioritization of time. So for leaders listening in, if you don't prioritize, you really never get done what you think you want to get done. But if you prioritize, you visualize, then you create a strategy to make it all happen, you get awesome results.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
Closing comments, Dr. Axe, for our audience today.
Yeah. I wanted to mention, if we do have any chiropractors or any physicians listening, I've got a great group. It's called the Leaders Mastermind Group. And so this is a group where I kind of help coach and mentor a lot of chiropractors and doctors of functional medicine and people that also want to build online personal brands. And so if anybody's interested in that, you can DM me on Instagram or Facebook, and it's at Dr. Josh Axe, and just say, hey, I heard about your growth group, your mentorship group, your mastermind group, and just, hey, I'd like more information on it and would love to connect with you on that. And if we have any lay people and students, I would just encourage everybody, continue to learn and grow as a leader. Again, this podcast here, I know Gilles has some incredible leaders on consistently. Just make a habit. Like, I love to listen to leadership podcasts while I work out. So I'm kind of, doing two areas of growth at one time. I've got a new podcast coming out called The Growth Lab. That's actually just released this week. And I've got interviews coming up. Actually interview Carrie Underwood, Tim Tebow, Patrick Lencioni, who's a leadership expert. And so you could check that out on iTunes or YouTube. Just search, Dr. Josh Axe, and you'd find me there. And I'm always posting stuff on Instagram now too. You could check out too. But Gilles, it's a real honor. I really appreciate you having me on today. And by the way, congrats on the gold medal. I mean, 68 years old to be doing that is just so impressive. And the other thing I've always been so impressed with you on is you're such an encourager to me. Anytime that we've been able to spend time together, I've walked away inspired and encouraged. I want to say thanks so much for just being a great encourager, inspiration in my life too.
Well, thank you. The feeling is mutual. And thanks for taking time out of your really busy schedule to spend a few minutes with me today and to share your expertise and your wisdom for audience. And please give your beautiful wife, Dr. Chelsea, a hug from me, and your daughter as well. And I look forward to seeing you maybe this fall in Puerto Rico.
I'd love it. Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, sir.